Hello, everyone. Welcome to a Locked On NBA Free Agency 2023 report. There is more craziness going on surrounding the NBA free agency today, and I'm joined now by Tony East, Locked On Pacers. I'm your host, Kylan Mills, host of the Locked On Warriors, also host for the Locked On NBA channel, in addition to a basketball analyst. All right, man. How you doing, Tony?
Hectic start, but Pacers get what they need pretty quickly. So excited to talk about some Bruce Brown here.
There we go. So ESPN first reported wing Bruce Brown has agreed on a 2-year, $45 million deal with the Indiana Pacers. That's according to his agents with CAA. Coming off that championship run, man, Bruce Brown getting the bag. How does he fit in with the Pacers?
It's an interesting fit that I think will have some questions answered for this team because he's kind of a 2-3 type, and the Pacers have a lot of those. Ben Shepherd, they just drafted, as well as Benedict Mathurin, Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith, Buddy Hield. But Brown has proven via the Nuggets, via their title run, that he plays much bigger than his size, can play the three, can play the four, mostly because he can defend those positions. He upped his three-point volume and shown he could be a little bit of a perimeter shooter. And because he has that positional versatility, that peskiness about him, playing bigger than his size, he has value to the Pacers in that he can play on the wing. He can play with their new rookie in Jarris Walker, and the fact that this deal is a little shorter is also beneficial for the Pacers, who love their flexibility with their team building. So they'll definitely have to answer some positional questions about the number of 2-3 types they have on this team, but in terms of talent and fit, Bruce Brown is a good player that helps the Pacers with some of their weaknesses.
Okay, well, when talking about fit, first thing that I want to know from you is Tyrese Haliburton combining. What do you think these two could do together?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent part of this fit, right? And a lot of the things the Pacers will have to consider with all their signings going forward. Haliburton tweeted a video of some guy getting pumped in a car after the Bruce Brown signing was reported, and I think he's excited about it. As we saw in the postseason and have seen with the Nuggets all year, Brown is electric and runs around like a crazy person in a good way. It's like organized chaos. And Haliburton is a brilliant, brilliant transition player. That's his favorite way to play, in the open floor when he can see everybody, see everything going on, and he can dictate what happens. Bruce Brown is a master in those situations. He knows where to cut. He knows when to cut. He can read his teammates very well. His feel for the game is excellent. Those two in particular pair very well together. And I think that's important for every team, really, right? Signing players that pair well with your stars, but for a Pacers team that finally has an identity and has a guy in Tyrese Haliburton who sets it, finding players who fit well with him is valuable, and I think Bruce Brown pairs extremely well with him and will this coming season.
All right. Well, you mentioned some of the young talent that this Pacers organization can build around. If you had any predictions, do you expect to see any moves, or do you have any predictions in terms of what this lineup will look like come October?
That's a good question. You know, they had a tight roster crunch. They had 14 players under contract entering Friday. Sounds like Chris Duarte is on the move, although we haven't gotten a ton of details on that. And he fittingly plays the position, or at least the two positions Brown would play the most. So they freed up a little bit of the logjam there. But they still have Mathurin and Nembhard in this mix, like I said. So they're going to have to figure, and Aaron Nesmith, they're going to have to figure out how to get all of those guys the appropriate minutes at these 2-3 spots. Maybe that, and Jarris Walker, they just drafted at the 4. I keep adding names because of how the Pacers are, but they're going to have to figure out a way to play all of these guys enough that makes sense. And look, you don't pay Bruce Brown $22 million for him not to be playing a lot or as much as a lot of that group. So I'd imagine he is the guy playing a ton from this group, and then they figure out which young guy should go where and how to balance their offense and defense and who fits with the bench versus with Tyrese Haliburton after that, because he could play the 2 and the 3. It sounds like Benedict Mathurin assumes that he will be a starter. He started to end last season as well. He was very good as a rookie, and it makes a lot of sense for him and Brown to play together. I think they also fit pretty well, which is crucial for this Pacers team. So figuring out what to do from there with the other guys that I said and their shooters and their lottery pick is going to be tricky, right? They still have a lot of players deserving of minutes, but no one who's like a slam dunk. You have to play them so much every single night kind of guy in their team. So as they kind of progress and figure out what that all looks like, I'll be interested to see how Rick Carlisle balances these minutes. But of course, Bruce Brown's going to be near the top of this list. As it stands, as we're talking, he's the highest paid player on the Pacers. It's not a guy you sign to then, be a limited bench player. That's a guy who you think can play a significant role. So how they actually implement that is yet to be seen because of the number of guys at his position, but his positional versatility kind of allows them to be creative with all those young guys in the mix.
Crazy. You pointed out the highest paid player now, and that's one of the things that is a little bit of a talker about this signing. Bruce Brown goes from making $6 million with the Denver Nuggets to now $22.5 million a year. I've seen a little bit of some mixed reactions in terms of NBA fans on Twitter. Do you think that's the right price tag for Bruce Brown?
It's on the high side, certainly. I mean, I would be hard pressed to disagree with that. But I will say the second year of his contract does have a team option, I was told. And that's kind of the price of business to get guys on those team friendly deals, is paying them more money up front, right? Like there were a lot of reports that he could be getting the non-taxpayer mid-level exception from some team that starts at 12 million. If he gets that for 2 years, that's more than $22 million. So giving him that money up front means he's guaranteed over a certain number of years of his career to make up that money. But the Pacers also maintain flexibility potentially into next year. If that is in fact an overpay, they could just decline the option and sign him using non-bird rights or a million other things, or they could just keep him if he's a great fit and a great player, because that's why they would want to sign somebody, because they think he's a great fit and a great player. So I agree that it's on the higher side, but I think for a shorter contract, you're going to usually get these higher per year values, and getting the team option in there as well also is part of why this looks a little higher and has some shock value at the number. But for a guy like Bruce Brown, who per all reporting had a ton of interested suitors and is a good fit with what the Pacers need, you're going to have to pay more to get him, and that's what they did.
All right, great insight. Appreciate the time. Locked On Pacers host Tony East breaking it down for us here on the Locked On NBA Free Agency Chaos. We'll have much more for you coming throughout the day. Tony, thanks for the time.
Thank you, Kylan.